Hello everybody, thank you for watching and happy Leap Day 2020. That's right, it is currently February 29th. Figured that'd be a fun day to do this because, gotta be honest with you guys, this might be the craziest bunch of movies and specials and shows that I think I have ever assembled. So you're going to want to stay tuned for this one. It might be as entertaining listening to me attempt to describe most of these as it was for me to watch them. So getting right into it. This first one's going to require a little bit of explaining. If you've watched my past couple movie collection updates where I've been talking, I've kind of made it a theme where in each one of them I show a DVD of a series of specials called Real Wheels, which were created in the 90s by a guy named Dave Hood and his co-host Becky Borg, and they were instructional videos for kids that I grew up on with the VHS tapes, so I've kind of been catching up, collecting my DVDs of them. Well, I was curious, I was thinking about Dave Hood recently, and I wanted to see, I looked him up, and I was like, did he do anything else besides these Real Wheels specials? And sure enough, I was browsing around on his website, and I came across some titles that I had never heard of before. They were from the mid-90s, they filmed them and made them during the same time as Real Wheels, and so I'm like, huh. And thankfully I found the VHS tapes for two of them on eBay, which is lucky because I guess they're pretty rare. And it's a series under a Real Adventures label, and it's called That's How They Do It. And it's under the editions of Chocolate and Money. And there was also a third one that was unreleased called That's How They Do It Dolls, which I actually emailed Dave Hood asking him about it, and coincidentally the same night I emailed it to him, he posted that one on YouTube. So I want to thank you to my friend Ryan, by the way, who not only converted both of these to this DVD, but he also was able to put the Dolls one on there too, so I've got all three of them in this makeshift Dave Hood Experience DVD. Now, I was expecting these to be just like the Real Wheels special, you know, like there goes a fire truck, there goes a police car, so on and so forth. I was expecting it to be just like that, where I was assuming it was just going to be Dave Hood going to the chocolate factory, going to the Federal Reserve and learning about how the stuff is made, talking to industry professionals. I thought it was going to be just like those. And what I got was a whole lot crazier than that. Because, I mean, with all three of these, Chocolate, Money, and Dolls, he's playing a character named Professor Hoodie who lives on a magical island with his monkey named Woody and a parrot named Bird. And he's got this teleportation time machine where he goes to these places, and I was shocked to see Becky show up in these. I did not think she was going to be in any of them, and she plays like a different character in each one. They're silly, but they're grounded. They're very realistic, you know, very informative, very educational, while still being kind of fun, you know, for kids and entertaining. These were just off the wall crazy, and me as a 22-year-old watching these for the first time, seeing Dave and Becky circa 1995 for the first time, for the last time, if that makes any sense, because I've grown up on them. It was hilarious. I legit, not even nostalgic, I felt like a little kid again watching these. And they all have their fun moments, you know, like Chocolate was the first one I watched, and it was just so weird adjusting to the craziness of this versus a There Goes video. Then you had Money, which had this really goofy gag where Dave was teleporting and he was turning into Abe Lincoln and Elvis. Really silly but real fun. And the Dolls one had a surprisingly heartfelt ending. Really touching, so that I was not expecting to ever say that about a Dave Hood video, so hey, you know, you surprised me even there. But no, these were fun as hell. I had a blast watching them. I want to give a thank you to Dave Hood too for making them accessible and letting me know about them. because I grew up with him and Becky, and I had a great childhood, and I'm very humble about all that stuff, and I do attribute a lot of that to growing up watching Dave and Becky. So, you know, if either Dave or Becky somehow ever sees this, you know, thank you. Because, and as I said, the day I marathoned all 3 of these Chocolate Money and Dolls, and for that hour it took me to rewatch all 3 of them, I had become a kid again. Because I was laughing, I was getting excited at it. I'm like, man, that's like I'm a kid again. So it was an awesome experience seeing a Dave Hood video for the first time, for the last time. So he's a great guy. Next up, we have a new release of Knives Out. I saw this one in the theater, not really knowing much about it going in. I had just assumed it was going to be like Clue and, you know, typical like that. And this is not a typical murder mystery at all. Like, you basically see the crime a half hour into it, you know what happened, and then the whole movie's kind of like unraveling from there. Really well done, really well written. I got the Target exclusive version, which the only difference is that it comes with this book, which is the book that Christopher Plummer's character was writing in the movie. It's called Hook, Line, and Sinker by Harlan Thrombey. So I've just kind of skimmed through it. I'll have to give that a closer look. But Knives Out was an excellent, excellent time in the theater. It was great seeing people like Don Johnson and Jamie Lee Curtis, Daniel Craig, of course. At first I was caught off guard by his Louisiana-type accent in there, but it was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was a very welcome surprise, because it really isn't like Clue at all. It is in the sense that it's a murder mystery with a lot of comedy thrown in, but it's structured very different from any other murder mystery that I'm familiar with. Great setting and very cool atmosphere, because it takes place in the present day, and you know, you have smartphones and stuff like that being used, but you have this really old mansion setting, which, you know, typical for a murder mystery like this. And you know, it's a very unique movie, and I saw it in the theater. I had never really seen any of the trailers for it, so finally seeing it in the movie, you know, I'm very glad we saw that in the theater. And it's got a crap ton of special features. Got, you know, commentaries, Q&As, deleted scenes, and there's even a making of documentary called Making a Murder, which is a documentary all about the making of the movie. And that documentary itself is like almost 2 hours long, so it's like, damn. So you want your Knives Out fix, you'll get it with that. Same thing, speaking of things being long, we have this In Search of the Last Action Heroes documentary, which is all about the action genre, primarily focusing on the 80s and the, you know, the 70s going into the 90s, but they do go all the way up to present day. And I'm really happy the Fast and the Furious saga gets a positive mention at the end of this, because I am a gigantic fanboy of the Fast and the Furious saga. Now, if you follow my channel, you know I had a little bit of a mishap with this, because this is a burn-on-demand Blu-ray disc. It's not legit, it's burn-on-demand from Amazon. And if you follow my channel, you'll know I got a faulty one at first, but thankfully this replacement worked. And it's a good documentary. Obviously, they don't have Sylvester Stallone or Jean-Claude Van Damme or Arnold interviewed in here. But you get some people like Cynthia Rothrock, Eric Roberts, Paul Verhoeven. Oh, some of the people they do get are good, decently sized names in the action genre. And it's long, it's 141 minutes. But you could tell it's made by people who care about the genre and just want to express their love for it. So, you know, if you're a fan of the 80s and the 80s action genre specifically, definitely give it a watch. I've heard, I know there's that In Search of Darkness, which is like a 4-hour-long horror one, and I've heard there were problems with the Kickstarter on that. And then I guess there's a sci-fi one called In Search of Tomorrow, but I'm not really a sci-fi guy, so I don't know about those. But that one was good. Now this is a movie, I have always loved this one. I've talked about it before. I had the VHS of it, but I never got the DVD. So thankfully I just skipped right ahead and I got the Blu-ray of Leviathan. Awesome, awesome with Peter Weller, Ernie Hudson, Daniel Stern, Richard Crenna, Hector Elizondo. It's a great ensemble cast, great special effects by I believe it's like Stan Winston and that whole team, I believe, did all the makeup effects. And there's a big documentary on this Blu-ray with the makeup effects guys. They let on that it was a pretty stressful movie to work on because there were a lot of time crunches and designing all the outfits and the gore effects, which, in my opinion, all look really good. It's a great movie, especially for the small budget they had filming it in Milan, Italy. You know, I think it turned out great. Hector Elizondo almost died while filming it. Ernie Hudson had kind of an issue filming the ending scene because he couldn't swim. So you learn a lot in the bonus features on this. It's a Scream Factory Blu-ray. It's the movie in itself. It's very derivative. It's The Thing meets Alien. There's really no question about that. But I don't really see that as a fault, just because I think that's a good combination. Like, I really enjoyed that. And I said it before when I talked about the VHS of this, but it's a great movie. I recommend it. I know it's one of those huge string of 1989 underwater horror kind of subgenre, which I've only seen that one, The Abyss, and I've got Deep Star 6 over there, which that one's okay. That one never really did too much for me, but you know, it is what it is. Moving on, we have a thriller from 1990. This is also on Blu-ray from Kino Lorber. It sounded interesting, so I picked it up, and it's a film called Lisa. I had never heard of this before. Never seen anyone review it on YouTube. Never heard anybody really talk about it. It stars Cheryl Ladd, D.W. Moffat, and Stacy Keenan. And it's directed and written by Gary Sherman. And I guess because this has a commentary, this has interviews, a lot of features on this one too. He's the guy that made and wrote Poltergeist 3, which I know isn't really that highly acclaimed. But I guess this was MGM's, because, you know, with the dying of the girl from Poltergeist, MGM said, hey, listen, because you were able to get through and make Poltergeist 3, you can make any movie of your choice. And I guess that guy chose to make this movie for his teenage daughter. And that's basically what it is. That's basically the target audience, because it's a movie about a girl who, her and her friend, like prank calling attractive men and flirting with them over the phone, which is a pretty stupid idea from the get-go. And they end up getting involved with this one guy over the phone who happens to be a serial killer of women. And it's a pretty good thriller. I'm not going to call this a horror movie because it really isn't. It's not a horror movie. It's not a slasher movie. It's a pretty direct thriller. It almost has a TV movie vibe to it. Like, you could kind of see this being on Lifetime or Hallmark. But I enjoyed watching it my first time through. Because my first time through, I'm watching it, and there's a lot of irony in there where you know things that the main character, Lisa, doesn't. So, you know, you got that whole build-up of like, oh shit, girl, don't do this, you're getting yourself in some shit, don't. So, you know, you got the irony, and it gets pretty suspenseful near the end. The finale's a little, you know, silly, but, you know, for what, I don't know how much rewatchability it has, but for my first time viewing it, it was suspenseful, it was pretty tense, and I enjoyed, you know, it has a TV, so if you're going into it expecting a horror or a slasher vibe, it's not what you're getting. But TV movie, thriller, you know, it's pretty decent, you know, and the features were interesting too, listening to interviews with D.W. Moffat, the director, the editor, and of course there's a commentary, so hey, Kino usually does good with their special features though. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the part you've all been waiting for. This is where the stuff I'm about to talk about is gonna get wacky as shit. I'm starting off with Hard Ticket to Hawaii. Now, I'm sure a lot of you movie people are probably already familiar with this. It's part of the infamous Andy Sedaris collection of movies, which were basically like these weird spy, James Bond type not even spoofs, because they were trying to be legitimate films. They're just, I've heard this is the best one out of his entire collection. So this is the only one I've seen, and this is the only one I intend on seeing anytime soon. But dear God, this thing was ridiculous. If you've seen this, you know what I mean. You've got Playboy Playmates playing these spies, and you've got evil rabid snakes. You've got the most 80s villains ever. The Hawaiian shirts on it. You've got terrible pop theme songs. And even like the randomly creative opening credits where all the names are on the crates. The skateboarding scene, the frisbee scene. If you guys have seen this, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I had a ball watching this. And it's so endearing when you listen to the commentary with Andy Sedaris and his wife, because he is so proud of this thing and he just thinks it's the coolest. And the one-liners in this thing are so bad. But as I said, like, this is usually mentioned in the same vein as movies like Miami Connection. And I do have Miami Connection. I always thought Miami Connection was pretty overrated on the entertainingly bad movie scale, because it is a bad movie, and it is pretty funny and entertaining. But Miami Connection is not something I see myself rewatching a lot. Like, you see it once, and I'm like, okay, I've got no desire to really watch that again. This thing, I'll be honest with you, I watched it 3 different times on 3 different occasions with people. So, like, this one struck me in a better place than Miami Connection did. Yeah. If you know what this is, you know what it is. And now we got this fucking thing. I knew nothing going into this movie. I was curious because it's a movie starring Madeline Smith and Malcolm McDowell. And they are the only 2 people in the cast. 90-minute movie, which is 2 people, and it's a horror movie called The Caller from 1987. And I was under the impression this was a home invasion cat and mouse movie where Malcolm McDowell was going to be chasing Madeline Smith. And I had read reviews saying that it has a crazy twist ending that you'll never see coming. So I was intrigued. I'm like, okay, come on, movie. I've seen a lot of movies by this point. You know, let's crack this thing. Oh, you are never going to guess that. I give the movie credit because while it's 2 people, the movie's a gigantic mind game where you don't know what the hell is happening. You don't know the connection Madeline Smith has with Malcolm McDowell. You don't know why they're being brought together. You don't know what their intentions are. It seems like they know each other, but it seems like they don't. So it does do a really good job playing with your mind and like making you just not know what the hell is going to happen next. But it's really weird for the same reasons. And then when you get to the ending, the acclaimed twist ending that no one saw coming, it's the stupidest shit. Like, my first time watching the movie, I'm like, what? It has to do with robots and aliens enslaving the human race, and I'm just like, it's unlike any other thing I've ever watched. And for the most part, I probably would have recommended this too, had it been a little smarter, but that ending, I was just like, what? Robots and human enslavement, and they're like playing games with people, like separating people from their children, and I'm just, it made no sense, like leaping from a home invasion thriller to this weird romance thing to that, I'm just like, what? And then coming off the heels of watching that movie, I watched this movie, Turbulence 3, Heavy Metal. No, you don't need to. I've never seen Turbulence 1 or 2, but I guarantee you they are probably not as amazing as this. Let me just walk you through the plot of this movie. It's got Rutger Hauer, Joe Mantegna are the big names in there. The movie's about a goth rocker, Marilyn Manson wannabe named Slade Craven, who is performing a goth rock concert on a 747 passenger airplane. Yes, you heard that right. But the plane is hijacked by satanic terrorists who want to crash the plane into a cursed church in Stull, Kansas, which apparently is a real thing, and they want to crash this plane into this church in Kansas to unleash Satan into the world. And the only ones that can stop it are shock rocker Slade Craven and a computer hacker. This is one of the most 2001 movies I've ever watched, and I'll be honest with you, as terrible as that is, and how stupid this is, guys, I think I had too much fun watching this, because this is such a convoluted mess, and the story is just so wacky, and it plays itself so seriously. I actually kind of loved this. Rutger Hauer is there as the pilot, who kind of has some stuff to do. Joe Mantegna is just kind of there, but it's funny to see him in this. Yeah, and the fact that it's based on a real urban legend of Stull, Kansas, and they put it into an airline disaster movie like this about a Marilyn Manson wannabe doing a concert on a plane, and Satanists it's ridiculous, but I was laughing my ass off watching this, and I was really entertained. So I'm going to be honest with you guys, I really dug this. And I know you're probably all writing in trying to get me institutionalized for saying that. But hey, Turbulence 3, Heavy Metal, Slade Craven, hey, this gets the pass in my books. I mean, my description of it there, you know if you're the type of person who gets humor in just watching B-grade stuff like that. So hey, that plot should let you know what you're in for. And if you can dig it, you can dig it. And if you can't, you're never going to be able to get on board with it. Pun semi-intended there. So yeah, Turbulence 3, Heavy Metal. And if you didn't even think that was crazy enough, well, guess what? This is even crazier. Now this is a burn-on-demand DVD I got. It's actually a Netflix exclusive horror movie that came out in 2019. I had never heard of it until relatively recently when some people were talking about it, you know, like end of the year, best of list. Everyone was saying this movie's really gross, it's really disturbing, it's filled with twists and turns, it'll keep you on the edge of your seat. And because I did not learn my lesson from The Caller, which I had seen before this, I was like, oh, please, okay, come on, let's see what this is like. I gotta learn to stop doing that. This is a movie, a Netflix exclusive called The Perfection. First of all, it is a good movie. I actually did really enjoy this, but the plot of this thing, it's almost like you have 3 different plots. Like you're watching this movie, you know, the first half hour, so it's about these 2 cellists, this prestigious music school, and ironically enough, it's about a virus that breaks out in Shanghai, China. But anyway, that's how the movie starts out. It starts out Shanghai, China, and you're starting to believe it, like, is this going to be like some weird virus movie? No, then it takes a 180-degree turn, and then you're watching this like weird stalker thriller, and then you're watching this I Spit on Your Grave type revenge story. It's got Steven Weber from Wings in there playing a really weird character. And this movie, I have a couple stories about this. Number one, the main girl in this, she plays like this cellist, you know, real prestigious music academy, and we all know how those symphony orchestra kind of people are. This movie really plays up that kind of crowd. She looks exactly like someone I know who happens to be a classically trained violinist. So that alone made this a really weird one. I was sitting there like, alright, this is going to be weird. And so there was that, and then there were all the weird twists and turns, and it is a pretty disturbing movie. I've seen worse, and this isn't really a disturbing movie in a gore, but like there's a couple scenes where people are vomiting, and if you don't like that kind of a thing, you know, it's mainly in like the first third of the movie where you get kind of the vomiting and the virus type plot, but that disappears when you get halfway into the movie, and you get 2 other crazy twists. But it's not gory. It's not disturbing or gross in a gore sense. It's more just kind of in an unsettling way, because the movie has a lot of just kind of, like, there's a whole segment where they're on this really dirty bus and they're feeling sick, and like the movie does a good job at kind of relaying that feeling of illness and just kind of feeling disturbed while watching it. So much so that this movie admitted me to the hospital, because during the time frame where I watched this, I was really sick with bronchitis and like a sinus infection. I had this weird chest infection going. I was really fucked up. I legitimately thought I was dying. And the night I happened to watch this, I would not stop getting nosebleeds. Which is weird, because there's even a scene in the movie where one of the characters gets a nosebleed while they're feeling sick, which made me feel creepy as hell. I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? So I sat through this whole movie, and then I get to like the last 15 minutes. So I had to pause the movie when there was like 15 minutes left. I kept getting nosebleeds, I couldn't stop, and I was having pink eye. So I was just like, what the fuck? So there was so much going on. I had to go to the urgent care emergency room that night. So I keep the wristband from that night in this DVD case. I fully blame this movie for cursing me with that, and especially now, as I'm currently filming this February 29th, when you watch the news and the coronavirus and all that stuff, I'm like, okay, the web of connections with this are just mind-blowing. So this movie will go on record as being the one and only movie that hospitalized me. Let that sink in. But at the end of the day, in all seriousness, it is a pretty good movie. I did enjoy it. It's really well made. It tries to be a disturbing movie, and for the most part it does succeed. Not in a gory way, but more or less just kind of in an unsettling way, where it's like, I feel dirty for watching this. Like, I just feel, this movie's just making me feel not right. So that's the story with this. It is well made. It's not, I'm not even sure what kind of a release it has, because this is like a burn-on-demand disc. It's a Netflix exclusive. I'm sure it's still there. So I'd check it out. You know, if you like those more disturbed, you know, kind of gross out, maybe not a gore house type watch, but you know, if you want to and if you want to just watch something crazy that has like 7 twists and turns, go right ahead. And when you think it just can't get any crazier, ho 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 ho, 7 twists and turns, try a movie that has like 20. Ryan's Babe. Oh my god. This is like the granddaddy of this shit, because this is just like this went unreleased for a while until a copy was found in a dumpster and they released it. Basically what this is a really weird thriller, comedy, road travel movie. They try to do like a modern telling of Homer's The Odyssey, because it's all about Ryan going place to place, encountering different people in different situations, and there's even a part where he's holding a book of the Odyssey. Subtle. There is no structure to this. The ADR is terrible. Like, there are certain points where the wrong person is dubbing the wrong character. And it's just like Ryan, he'll go somewhere, he'll get drugs, something crazy will happen. He'll wind up somewhere else, he'll get drugs, something crazy will happen. This is one of the most mind-blowing experiences I've ever had watching something. And it's just crazy. And it was so weird, because talking about the ADR, I swear to God, the guy that plays like the hillbilly stepfather, I swear to God, there's no credits in here, and there's nowhere to back it up online. But I swear to God, you listen to it, he is dubbed by Lorenzo Music, who did the original voice of Garfield. I swear to, watch this and tell me I'm wrong. That's fucking Garfield doing that guy's voice. So I don't even know how to talk about it. It's on YouTube. There's evil cheerleaders. There's a mafia hitman who only speaks in Shakespeare lingo. The ending, there's a stalker that this guy's running away from, but in the end he actually loves her. There's this weird xylophone score to... You have to experience this for yourself. As if I thought I couldn't get any crazier than The Caller. Then I watched Turbulence 3, thought I couldn't get any crazier than that. Then I watched The Perfection. I thought I couldn't get any crazier than that, especially after that movie Hospitalized me, and I had to come back to it and re-watch it after that just so I can get it all in. And then I had this. Got the 10th season of King of the Hill. I don't know how to even follow that up. I love King of the Hill. This is a good season. I've had a season for every DVD update I've done. I've had, and you know, this one's got some great episodes, like where they rent a boat and Hank, Bill, Boomhauer, and Dale get stuck in the ocean, or when Bill rents his house out to all the Alcoholics Anonymous people. Great selection. Bobby Hill going to clown school. Great. I love King of the Hill. You know, if you watch my videos, you know I've talked about it before. I won't dwell on it. Underrated show. I wish it was still going. Yeah, I love King of the Hill. I'm a big King of the Hill fan. So 10th season of that. And this is another show. I showed this a couple updates ago, the first season, and I dug it. So I got the second season of the Friday the 13th show. It has nothing to do with the movie series, but I quite honestly don't give a shit because I think this show is cool and unique enough on its own to where it works. And this season has some really cool episodes. There's a season with this, you know, cursed, like, Nigerian mask. There's the mirror from, there's like a little makeup mirror from the first season that actually returns in there. My favorite episode, there's a really weird one where it's like a kid's playhouse, and whenever the kids go into the playhouse, it kidnaps them and like zaps them to another dimension. That one was pretty weird, but it was entertaining. But my favorite episode of this season was an episode about a stopwatch. It was a stopwatch where every time it hit like 13 o'clock, you could freeze time. And I think that episode was actually nominated for an Emmy because of the special effects, where it would freeze time, but then the camera would go into a first-person point of view while everything was... It was really well done, and I think that was my favorite episode of the season. It was a great episode. But the whole show, it's a fun show. It's an anthology type where every episode is a different kind of storyline revolving around some different people surrounded by our main people here. And I'm looking forward to checking out the third and final season because I think this is a fun show. It's got that cheesy 80s charm, you know, almost like Are You Afraid of the Dark or Goosebumps, that kind of feel, and I dig that. So, I dig that show. Speaking of Dave Hood, here's one of the real wheels. This time it's Mega Truck Adventures with There Goes a Bulldozer, Monster Truck, and Tank, which are all great episodes. Dave does great. Dave and Becky are both in the Monster Truck one, which is fun. They interview some of the actual famous monster truck drivers. My favorite on this set that I would watch as a kid, I always loved watching Bulldozer. The only downside on this DVD, for some reason Bulldozer is edited down. Like, for some reason they cut out that opening scene. And thankfully I do still have my VHS of that, so I still kind of have it. And if you watch There Goes a Bulldozer on YouTube, it's from the VHS. So the YouTube version, you get to see the whole thing. For some reason, they cut out the opening where it's the kids in the sandbox playing with the toys, toy bulldozers at the playground, and that epic synth music playing. And for some reason, my favorite scene of Bulldozer was always the scene where Dave had to climb the crane and he was freaking out about it. For some reason, they cut that scene down so it was shorter. I'm not sure why, but, I do, and I'll probably do a VHS rip of that, but, it's good to have these on DVD. As I said, with the That's How They Do It series, where that's more kind of like a, how it's made type show, only it's done incredibly goofy. These are a little bit more straightforward and educational, while, Dave's still being funny, his catchphrase, "Ooh, I shouldn't have done that." So, forever a Dave Hood Real Wheels fan, Dave and Becky. Getting to the end, this is a bootleg DVD. It's a promo DVD, but, my number one all-time favorite singer, musician is Stan Bush. I got all of his albums. I'm just a huge fan. And this is a DVD, Stan Bush, Acoustics and More. This comes with some acoustic concerts, live at the Greek Theater from 2012, which is like 6 acoustic songs. It's got a track, I'll Never Fall, live from a BotCon concert. And then you get some miscellaneous music videos ranging from like the late 90s to the early 2010s. So you get the Capture the Dream, which was actually a song he did that was used in the Olympics. So you get the Olympic video for that on here. Get a fun Army tribute video with his song The Touch. Music video for Falling, which is a great song. Music video for Heat of the Battle, which is another great song. It's kind of a funny music video. It's these 2 like model girls playing a Transformers video game on Xbox while Stan Bush is on the TV. That is kind of a funny one. And the music video for The Touch, Sam's Theme, which is a much darker, more hard version of his song The Touch. And some versions of that song actually have a rap. Unfortunately, this is the version without the rap, but I kind of like that version just because it's so different. But yeah, Stan Bush, my favorite singer, huge fan. He's working on a new album now, so hey, this is a cool little souvenir. And finally, I had to get it. I've got like 3 or 4 of his DVDs. But I figured for a reasonable price, for a cool packaging like this, the complete series of the AVGN, Angry Video Game Nerd, in the BFG of Blu-rays, which stands for Big Fucking Group of Blu-rays. I've always been an Angry Video Game Nerd fan, even though I am not a gamer. I do not know that much about video games. I rarely ever play video games. But, you know, this is just an entertaining, hilarious show. You get pretty much the complete series in here, and they even give you some extra slots in the back for future releases, which I think is really cool. I'm not even going to talk about my favorite episodes or moments, there's just too many of them, but I'm a big Angry Video Game Nerd fan, so this packaging, this box is awesome, and you know, I want to support James, so, you know, great addition. And that is probably the craziest group of fucking movies I will ever talk about. Hope you guys enjoyed this Leap Day, February 29th update, and we will see you on the flip side. Alright, how long did I ramble for today? Oh, 37 minutes. It's kind of where I've been lately, that 37-minute range. Alright guys, take care and have a good one.